like I was in another internship that had a bit of data work before that, and that was before joining uni. So before joining uni, I was actually interning for the Maritime Port Authority, and I was doing a bit of corporate planning there, and that involved a bit of basic SQL and um, a bit of Tableau, but it was really like just following the instructions and like copying pasting code. But like it somehow ended up helping me in the future when I interviewed for DBS. So I think there was like 3 rounds to it. The first was a cognitive assessment, and then after that there was a video interview, and I think the last round was a phone interview because of COVID. Like it was supposed to be a physical one, but yeah, COVID really cut short the interview process. So I guess that was a blessing in disguise. Anyway, like so when I went for the phone interview, they were telling me about the job responsibilities of business planning, which was more of doing a bit of data manipulation and data visualization using Tableau and Power BI. And these are honestly like it sounds very complex, like it sounds new to some people who have never done it before. But honestly, like data visualization is pretty easy to pick up, I would say, because there's a lot of self-help tools online. And when I came for that role, I basically used my previous experience, talked about my exposure to data visualization tools, and said that I was just very willing to learn. So I think the main thing that DBS was looking for was your attitude, like in terms of how willing you are to learn. And as long as you can show your intellectual curiosity, I think they'll be fine with anyone who may not even be a computer science or business analytics or data science student. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go next. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm doing a final year internship in MSD. So I can talk briefly about some of the data science projects I'm working on. So for each project, I'm working with different groups of people from the data science team, as well as other teams in IT. So some projects I'm working on is, one is on a project to develop an AI product, so to automate some document classification. So that one use OCR technology. Then another one is on computer vision, also to create an AI product. Then I'm doing another one on HR analytics. So that one is more towards data analytics project. So it's more of interacting with the business user. So some topics in HR include like overtime analysis and survey analysis. So that one involves some natural language processing. Okay, so the work I do involves both AI product development as well as data analytics. So it also involves both the computer vision and natural language processing. So what I think is both computer vision and natural language, you can pick them up from you can pick them up from online from tutorials, but then it's may not be that easy to master. So I guess as long as you have some projects related to it, then you can also use it as a project experience to show them during the interview itself. So for them, they're actually quite flexible with regards to what kind of skill sets you have. So I guess as long as you have one comfortable programming language, and then you're good at you're using one particular IDE for the language, then they're okay with that. Yeah, so no need to in particular know Python or in particular know R. Yeah, and whether or not it's your skill set is in data visualization or in database or in making AI products or data analytics facing customers, clients, they're all okay with that, because our data science team is split such that each team will handle each of these different skill sets. So what they're looking out for is quite varied. You don't have to worry if you don't have this particular skill set. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's a very interesting points that all three of our speakers have brought up. But I think maybe like something that the audience would like to know is that how much experience do you need to have in regards to like specific tools that you use during your internships? Are you expected to have like really a lot of background knowledge regarding like the ins and outs of, let's say, certain data visualization tools, or maybe in the case of like Denzel, like how much Python experience did you have before like really starting your internship at Shopback?
So I guess I can go first. Actually, any Python experience I have was just like things I picked up on my own, just like CS and that sort of thing. Yeah, so it wasn't like I wasn't super experienced, and then um, yeah, I was actually quite a beginner when I first joined. But on a day-to-day basis, what's more important is actually how you write your queries, how you write SQL. I think for my particular role, that was more important because ultimately that's the first step, right? You have to extract all the data from the database first before you can do anything Python to manipulate the data. So yeah, in any case, I think both of these skills, right, essential as they may be, that was not what Shabba was looking for when they assessed me for the internship. They were looking more uh, for like how hungry you are, what's your attitude towards learning, like how fast you can pick things up. So uh, the rest of the things, basically, they can train you in how to do, or you can learn by doing. As long as the attitude is there, I think uh, getting a data-related internship is, I think that's essential to getting a data-related internship. The attitude to it.
Yeah, I think adding on like what I said just now as well, because I think I sort of said that like DBS is really open to people who are willing to learn, right? So yeah, it's really like quite beginner friendly what I did. So basically, like when I worked at DBS, I'll just talk more a bit about my projects, and um, one of it was involving basically ascertaining whether the ATM machine system placements of machines are being overutilized, underutilized, and which machines should be removed across island-wide because of COVID as well, hitting a lot of the customer traffics. So that was pretty interesting and pretty relevant to what's happening right now. Like not a lot of people are actually like drawing cash out of the ATM machines and stuff, right? And of course, some information is a bit classified, so I won't share that. But basically, most of the team that I was working with were not very familiar with the data visualization or programming tools that we were using. And that is even for some people who graduated with diploma in like computing, if I recall correctly. And my boss was a computer eng grad. So like for people who even graduated with a very technical degree, per se, we all know that like the technological tools are always changing, right? And hence, like when I was doing the project, it was a lot of trying to bridge that gap. And so, like the tools I was using was VBA, Power BI, and Tableau. And I was trying to determine whether we should actually switch over to Tableau for the whole company because Tableau has like some certain features that were better than Power BI in terms of group sharing and presentations. But beyond that, like because I was also exploring a bit of Microsoft Power Automate, so a lot of like Power Apps and like workflow optimization tools and like automation done using the Microsoft suite was also carried out because of the fact that like DBS trusts Microsoft as a partner. So like in a bank setting, like there's a lot of like security concerns when it comes to bringing in new software. So we won't say we are the most like technologically advanced, but we do like carry out regular tests on what we approve in the bank and what we do not approve in terms of what IDs we can use and what we can't use. Yeah, so that one is like another like whole set of bureaucracy that only comes across with big companies, right? So so obviously like there's so many different like technological tools that we can use, but it's really about the way you carry the way you learn and the way you convey your information to your supervisors. Because like when I was playing around with Microsoft Power Automate to sort of do some of the automation with regards to like ordering forms of like Chinese New Year notes for next year, like it was a lot of like me trying to simplify the messages to my supervisors who are very out of touch with technology, even though they had very technical degrees and stuff. Yeah, so it's really about like how you present information and how you learn. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, for the tools I'm using, so right now I'm using some of R and Python, and sometimes also C Sharp. Yeah. Then do they expect me to be good at those? Yeah. So previously, yeah, they'll just need you to be good in one particular programming language. Right? Let's say Python, and then if you're good in one, comfortable with one IDE, like for example, Jupyter Notebook or Spider or PyCharm, yeah, that is actually good enough. Yeah. So, or if you're using R, then most likely you're using R Studio. Then for C Sharp or other related ones, you'll be probably using a Visual Studio. Yeah. So as long as you have one of those, should be good enough. Then I'm also using some of Git, but then that is like the one you can actually learn on the job. Yeah, so that one is fine as well. And for data visualization, they are also flexible with what kind of tools that you can bring in. Yeah, so apart from the different data science tools, then I guess what's also important is the ability to communicate. Also, like what Jerry mentioned, yeah. So ability to communicate and networking skills is so important, because being able to talk to the business clients and also being able to talk to your supervisor, communicate ideas smoothly. Also being able to nail down and scope down on requirements is also an important skill set. So it's not just about like data science skills, they also like assess you for like your communication skills wise. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sure must have been a really enriching experience for all three of you. What is the most important takeaway from your internships, from your various internships?
Oh, so I can go first. So I think one of the things I didn't, or rather, I think one of the most important takeaways is, I think what we just mentioned is learning how to communicate with the stakeholders that we work with closely. So ultimately, I think as part of a data analytics team, you don't exactly work alone. Your role, or rather my role currently, would be to support the various business functions around the company. So you have to work closely with people who consume the data that you provide. So ultimately, trying your best to advise them from a data standpoint, knowing their difficulties, gathering their requirements, and understanding why they need and what they need. I think is very important, and it's an essential soft skill to have, lah, if you were to succeed at data.
So for me, beyond like the technical skills like and the tools that was picked up along the way, like through self-learning and through like working with my supervisors and the like, I think one big takeaway from my internship was actually like learning more about how like DBS or like a huge multinational company works. So the thing is like when work from home started, like my internship was delayed sort of, and like I only started in June. So like DPS was already very ready for like the post like a pandemic kind of workplace setting where everyone just works remotely but uses a VPN to connect to the DPS servers. And like it was a very new experience for me because I actually had like three other internships where I had to report physically, right? So that was one thing that's refreshing. But secondly, like there's also like so much online support that DBS provides to its staff. So if I had any questions, right, we have like I think two or three different channels that we can ask questions on, and depending like there's one that's a AI bot that actually replies questions. So that's the least personalized, of course. But then there's also like the forums where we ask each other questions, and these like questions are asked like between countries as well. So like for example, if I want to ask like a very general question on programming, right? Like staff from like the Indian team or the Taiwanese team can reply me and give me some feedback as well. So I like the learning between countries. And furthermore, like our CEO, Piyush Gupta, he also like has a lot of like he every quarter he actually like replies the Q&As of the staff. So the staff will send in a list of questions that they want to ask about the company's direction and the company's initiatives towards issues such as like sustainability or like urban farming and stuff like that. And he will actually take the time to personally answer every question. So you get to understand why like DBS or like such a successful company works the way it is, which was very interesting. Like it's very different from a startup scene, but they also try to pride themselves to be a 27,000 like 27,000 man startup. You know, I can't remember the numbers, but I think that's their mission. And only when you work at a big company you sort of understand like different cultures and different like interactions between the companies. And I think that is a experience that everyone should take away beyond just working for a certain type of like business structure. Yeah.
Yeah, so to add on to like Denzel's point on some soft skills, so yeah, so I believe that networking skills are also important to have because as MSD is also a large MNC. Yeah, so if you were to know more people, it'd be easier to navigate around the company. So for example, if you have some like issues with like cloud services or like some server access issue, then if you know the right team or the right people, then it'll be easier to like contact them to resolve your issues like much faster. So I feel that these like can't be like explicitly taught in school. So even if they do sometimes like train us on like communication skills via our different courses, but then I think the best way is to actually learn it through the company. Yeah. So yeah, even though MNC is like a MNC, we also the data science team itself is actually like we function like a startup also. Yeah, so for each project we are actually like split into like different sub teams. So we sometimes don't actually work with some of our colleagues, even though we are in let's say in the same team. So let's say I'm in the decision sciences team. So sometimes I haven't like interacted with some of them before because I work in a project team. So in a project team, we are also working with other members in other teams in data science. So we also work with other members in IT as well. So for example, for one of the automation of the document classification projects, I also work with the project management team. I work with some the UAT, the testing team, and some server AWS team. Yeah, so in terms of that aspect, I think being able to like communicate and deliver your ideas well is also very important because different teams have different motivations. So if you only were to like speak from like the data science point of view, they may not understand. Yeah. So you may need to understand their motivations and then then help them out or try to support them from different from their point of view.
Okay, thanks Wei Jie, Jerry, and Denzel for sharing. I think one thing that many of us encounter in school is that amongst like you and your friends, you often like talk about when you're are talking about internships and what roles you want to apply. You all might have like some preconceived notions of what a data scientist or like someone doing business intelligence or data analyst might have. And considering that three of you all have already like undergone like each of your like individual roles as like interns, maybe you all could share like some like misconceptions that you all initially had about the role, if you all had any. Then I think like maybe try to like address them and like explain a bit more about how maybe you thought these misconceptions came about lah. Yeah.
Misconception. So I didn't think I had any huge misconceptions with people. Like I didn't go in knowing a lot about data analytics. My initial internship experience was just a way for me to explore like different career paths. Like, given that I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in the future. So like it feels as if at that point in time, data was something that would uh, will require me to apply some of the stats that I learned in school, plus to pick up a bit of technical skills on the job as well. So I went in with that particular mindset, which was to attempt or try my hand in the career in that particular field. So I didn't go in with with a lot of preconceived notions about what to expect. I just went in and did it, and I felt like after the internship, oh, this is a career I can pursue in the future. So I just went ahead and did it.
Okay, so for me, I think one misconception I had was like about like how tough it was. Like at first, like when I started, and I heard about the job description during the interview, I was kind of just winging it in terms of like saying that I was, like I thought I could do it, but obviously had some self doubts in terms of whether I could actually um, like implement it up to their standards of the BS Bank. But when I actually got into the role, like I realized that some of these like data visualization tools and like VBA is actually pretty easy to pick up because of the amount of self help I got. I think the fear actually came about when like I used to take this mod in CS called like CS 1101S, where it's like the language had no help sources. So there was no like Stack Overflow or anything to actually consult when you came across questions for your algorithm. And when it comes to like data visualization and like some of the automation that I did, there was not really like very complex algorithms, not a lot of complex like recursion or iteration that you even have to do, but simple like arithmetic and a bit of thinking, and you will probably solve the problem. So do encourage anyone who is interested to try. Like it doesn't really have to be someone from a data science background doing business intelligence, because business intelligence is really not very technical. It's more of like how we make use of the data that we already have to generate insights to present to like our supervisors and to the team, so that we sort of can keep track of maybe our budget or like how we are performing in terms of revenue. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one common misconception that some data science students or some statistics students might have would probably be that the accuracy of your model or how well your model performs is like the most important thing. Right? So because when we do data science projects and in school, sometimes the end goal is we just stop at the model. Right? So most of the time we stop at the model and then we just report some accuracy or some misclassification rate, and then the project just ends there. Yeah. So in terms of that, so that's why I think some people have this misconception that just the accuracy itself or just the model itself is the end goal or the most important thing in data science. Yeah. So then, but actually this is not the case. So for like what I previously mentioned and what other speakers mentioned, also the communication skills and the networking skills also the more important. So we are gathering requirements, like asking the right questions to scope the product is also important. So this part is more important for like data analytics. So if let's say your scoping isn't done right or your requirement analysis isn't correct, then the model itself won't be like solving the right business problem in the first place. So gathering requirements and understanding the requirements is also very important. So and also if for data analytics projects, after you build the model, you have to let the clients know about what is your recommendation, what is your solution to their business problem. So the model just ends up being like a tool to help you to make that judgment. So for example, you could be building a model to talk about to solve, let's say, churn rate or predict who will which kind of customers will be churning. Then your eventual recommendation would be to what is your solution to prevent them from churning, and not say like report this percentage of like, let's say 95% of my accuracy of my model. Then in some other cases, in other projects like doing with AI products or more software engineering, then you also need other skill sets like dealing with a cloud or how to design system architecture even before you build the model as well. Yeah, so those are also some like other skills you need to have and for those on the AI product development.
Okay. Thank you so much for all three of you for sharing all your experiences. I'm sure many of the audiences are interested on how to ace the interview process. So I've heard that the process for securing an internship is quite tedious. Are there any websites or resources you guys use to help make the internship search a bit easier, especially for the data-related roles? Maybe we could start with Denzel first.
Any resources to so I guess for like programming skills, I think you can just go on and do their standard practice questions. I think those are pretty helpful. As for interview process, when I guess there are a few stages. So if you're talking about the fit interview, then it's more or less about assessing like your attitude and like how whether or not you'll be a fit in the team and how fast you are at picking things up. So that one don't really have many tips on how to ace that portion. But I guess if you demonstrate a good attitude, then you will probably score points for it. Then for technical interview, there was a technical test when I did my internship in Shopback. So there was the SQL portion, there was a Python portion. So for SQL, and Python, as I mentioned just now, you can just practice on it. I think it will be sufficient. They're not looking for like 100 marks students as well. So as long as you can demonstrate that in your answers that you think through the problem logically and you would know how to solve the problem, like the steps you take are correct, even though you don't get the final solution. I think ultimately it's okay. Yeah. So I think that's all.
I'll just add on to like the from technical side because like when I went for my interview for DBS, there was actually no like technical interview. So I guess like for business intelligence, it's not really much of a like technical skill considered compared to like the other two panelists for sure. And it's more. I think it was more of just like whether you are good with numbers. So like there was like like this like numerical reasoning test and like the number accuracy test that was pretty standard across like many like MNCs. And as long as you can get through that, and there's a video interview usually they'll just ask you a few standard questions, and then you assess like your motivations and like whether you can actually present yourself well and communicate effectively. So like what we did iterates a lot, which is like the communication skills. So I guess that's what they try to look for in like people who want to work under this business intelligence role. And then at the end of the day, like when it comes to the phone interview and you're speaking to the interviewer, it's very important to show the enthusiasm that you have for the job more than anything. So I made sure that I was well rested. I set a timing where I was free, like probably 1 hour before I was really like thinking of what I wanted to say and like getting myself in the right mood. And then like when because it was a phone interview, right? One advice is that because they cannot see your facial expression, but try to like smile in the way you talk or like seem excited in the way you talk, and that can really translate into you seeming interested even without showing your face. And that's just some ways that I went about my interviews. Furthermore, I think like I found my job through Biz Simplicity actually. So like the Biz career website, like this has like a very general selection of jobs, a very wide variety, and like if you're a business student listening to this, you just keep looking for job updates. Like there's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, to add on to the different ways to like search for internships. So like NUS Talent Connect is one of the ways that I use also. Yeah, so for data science roles, it's actually quite broad sometimes. So the keywords that you might need to search for may not just include data science itself. So sometimes you can also search for like data analysis or computer vision, natural language, or algorithm even, or just Python or R itself. So these are some of the keywords that you can search for. Then then going back to Talent Connect, they also send out like a weekly emails on career-related events and also what are the new jobs that they recently posted. Then another good resource is actually CFG. So I also get like some emails from my career advisor. So some of them are more targeted towards data science related roles. Then some of them are packaged into like finance related roles. So you can keep a lookout for those emails from CFG as well. Then I also attend those career related events. So one of which the largest one is the yearly career fair. It's the NUS wide career fairs. Then if you're from science, if you're from Faculty of Science, then I think you can also attend the career fair from SOC, the School of Computing, because the School of Computing also has some internships that cater towards business analytics students. But then you might like miss them out because you're from Faculty of Science, and then you may not like attend their career fair. So then you can also attend the SOC career fair. And then also, I think the last resort is like you can just do like a direct like Google search for data science internship. Then usually it also like, turns out pretty well. The results are also turn out pretty well. Then I also use LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is also good for searching jobs for data science.
Okay, thanks for sharing about how you secured your internships and how the various websites that you're using your internships search. For next, I think we would like to ask more about how all of you prepared your resume for all these internships, and did you tailor your resume specifically for these internships that you all managed to secure?
So I think yes, I did adjust my resume for like data related things. So basically, I think the crux of it is if you have any previous internship or you have like some work experience before you apply to a position, you need to so you need to write your bullet points for your internship in terms of the impact it created. So like, I remember there was this article that was circulating around about like this Google FYE related resume writing technique. So I think that's really helpful. So you basically I forgot exactly what was the formula, but then like in some ways you can quantify the impact that you generated throughout your internship. Write it to be targeted in such a way that how do I put this? I wrote it in such a way that every project that you did within the internship period, right, there is some measurable impact on the business. So that's how you get them to read your resume. Yeah.
I think for business school, like we have our own like career creation workshops that are like zero MC mods designed to help you make your resume nice. And like I think we just have to tell them like what kind of industries we want to look into, and they'll advise accordingly. And I think for me, when I was year one, I was not very sure like what I really wanted to do. So the advice that was given to me was just create like 2 resumes. one that's more technical and one is more like business facing. So it depends on what you want. You filter out the information, and it shows you like it shows like the side of you that you want to portray to your employers. And I feel like that is very helpful. So for my more technical resume, I included like some of my hackathon experiences, including like Hack and Roll 2020, where it was just a fun learning experience. But I think it still speaks about your interest in like coding, programming, and problem solving. And then for my like more business resume, I spoke more about my leadership positions and like involvement in CCAs and like events and achievements. And, like yeah, so I think that's just a general guide. Like maybe you can prepare 2 resumes and also like always prepare like cover letter templates. Like have a few specific to like the industry that you want to go into or like the jobs that you want to go into, and then like whenever you are applying for jobs, just like copy paste the format and then you change a few fields inside and you just submit. Yeah, that's like a general tip that I give.
Yeah, with regards to the structure of your resume, if you're, let's say, a science student, then you also don't have like access to some resources, then I think one module you can take is the CFG 1002. The one is career catalyst. So that one like teaches you not just about resume, but then also how to go for interview sessions, how to dress up nicely for interviews, how to ace interviews, creating resumes, creating cover letters as well. So I guess that is one resource that you can also use. But if you, let's say you don't have the time to take this module, you can also just feel free to like reach out to your career advisor and ask them of any questions you have. Then the CFG website itself, if I'm not wrong, also has good resources. Then you can also attend their workshops. Some of these workshops are like how to ace like video interviews or how to communicate with like interviewers better. Yeah. So some of them are quite targeted. Then you can go for them, whichever skill set that you think is necessary for your next interview. Yeah. Then with regards to the resume preparation, with regards to the content wise, so I mostly did some group project modules with group projects components. So I think you can achieve like more as a team as compared to doing like individual side projects. Yeah. So some of these like modules I took are of a slightly higher level is because lower levels they also don't expect you have enough like domain background to handle group projects. So just thought we'll just share them with you anyway. Yeah. So some of the modules include the CS3244 like machine learning and some of my data science DSA coded modules. Yeah, those at the 3000 or 4000 levels, they actually do have good project components, which I think is a good addition to your resume. Yeah, so even if say you don't have these modules yet, you can't take them yet because of prerequisites, you can also do your own projects with your friends as well. So you can get a group of friends and then just find a data set to work on. Then one common resource that we use for data science is Kaggle. So Kaggle is a good place for you to find like data sets for different domains. Yes, then they also have like kernels, which show other people's work on how other people actually use this data set before. So be it data cleaning or data visualization or running models, then you can also use them as a starting reference. Then if you want to go further with the project, you can even identify your own business problem, then you can add more relevant data sets, then work your way to solve it with data. Yeah, so your output itself could be a dashboard, could be a recommendation, business recommendation, or an AI product also. So these are just some ideas you can work with regards to, let's say you want to work on a next project.
Okay, thanks for sharing about your personal resume tips. I think a misconception or an assumption that some might have about resume and the mods you take in school is the dilemma whether to add in mods that you have taken in school onto your resume as a proof that you possess certain technical skills. What do you all think about this suggestion?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So some students might think that, I've done certain modules in school, like what Wei Jie has mentioned earlier. As a result, like they might add all these like certain like modules that they have taken in school onto their resume itself. Would you all recommend doing this, or would leaving modules out of your resume be better, and like demonstrating all these technical skills through side projects be better for like your resume?
I think it depends. So if let's say the modules that you have taken is highly relevant to like the job, the data internship that you're applying for, then by all means you can include it. And it's even better if like a project you did during the mod is of relevance to whatever that you're going to do in the role. I think that would improve your chances of landing the internship.
I think for me, like, okay, so my understanding is that most internships, like, they'll ask for academic transcripts. So usually, like, my grades are just all for the employers to see in the academic transcript. And for my resume, I only put like the modules in which I have gotten like an A plus in. So that's like a sign that you are actually very good at a certain like domain of knowledge. And I think that can be applied. Like, I mean, I think in general, like if you have an A plus in the mod, you would want to like display it on your resume. And if it's like any other grade, then just keep it on your transcript. That's my point of view. And like in terms of like the hackathons and projects and stuff, I think that's very, very important to put on your resume as well, because that cannot be shown on the transcript, and I think it value adds more than the module results.
Yeah, so I agree with Jiari's point. So I think in general, we shouldn't like add in the modules itself. So unless during the module, in the course of the module, you took you did a project, then you feel like, oh, it's quite an achievement, then you can add it in. Or if not, when you get like a good score for it, you can also add it in. Yeah, sometimes for certain modules, they are more domain specific, and it's relevant for the internship applying for. Like for example, if you did a module with the finance, regarding the finance industry, and then you're applying for the finance industry, and then I think you should put it in. Then sometimes if let's say let's say you're a year one or a year two student, but then sometimes you're afraid that recruiters have like general impression that juniors don't have much experience in coding, then you might want to consider adding in your CS, like CS 1010 or like 2030, CS 2030, CS 2040. Yeah, but then if you already have done your own projects, your own coding projects outside of school, then I guess you don't have to put it in. So the general idea is that as long as you have showcased your skill sets via projects, then I don't think you need to put in like the modules. But if let's say there are certain skill sets like that you haven't portrayed before in a project, then you might want to add in the module to like complement to the skill set.
Okay, thank you. So I think one last point before we move on to the Q&A. I think many of these more technical roles, such as like data analysts or data scientists, are often gated by technical interviews, which are aimed to help the company assess how proficient you are in your technical skills that you put in your resume, such as like Python, SQL, and maybe let's say like your proficiency in certain like data related subjects such as like NLP. So could you share how you're prepared for the technical interview, if your roles had like any, as well as maybe like share some resources that you'll use when preparing for that specific like technical interview as well?
So I think I mentioned it just now, like if you I think Hacker and Academy, like just go in and like try to do as many questions as you can before doing the technical interview. Would mostly be sufficient for business intelligence. as I mentioned just now, they aren't exactly looking for like 100 marks, but you do have to know like to a certain degree of what you're doing to show that you have prepared. So yeah, try to practice as much as possible. Then before the interview, sleep well. Then take the test as if you are taking an exam. I think uh, that would be the best.
Okay, so for me, like, I don't really like do technical interviews, but like, because I minor in like computer science, right? And I know that like right now I'm taking CS 2030, and so for like technical interviews, when it comes to like um, functional programming, I think if you are trying to do well for algos, you should be taking like modules that are catered towards that, like CS 2040, which is more on algo, how to solve algos and stuff. And I think Catis is a very good platform to practice like that algo solving side of it. And like even if like I'm a business student, I can still go on to Catis and practice some problems. And if I can do well for a technical interview, I think I can stand a chance as well. So don't be phased if you're not like from a technical background. I think if you have the determination and you have the will to solve problems and like maybe take a few modules in CS, that can really boost your chances of landing a job. Yeah.
Yeah, so with regards to the type of questions that they may potentially ask in technical interviews, so one broad area is those that are tests on your like big O and complexity and space complexity. Yeah, so for those, you can practice like what Denzel said, hacker rank, or like what Jari mentioned is Catis. Then sometimes I also use a leak code. So yeah, so all of these like different platforms are places for you to test your like time complexity and being able to solve these algorithm questions efficiently. So a module to take is definitely CS 2040. Then before that, you have to take CS 1010 or equivalent. So another kind of domain of questions is more like data science related. So these are very, very broad kind of categories because after going through some interviews, there are many different ways that they can ask like data science questions. So some of them require you to code. So you will need to like know the different data science libraries and the base packages and their functions in mostly just Python, R, and SQL. Yeah. So if you're using Python, then things like NumPy, Pandas, sklearn, those are some things that you need to remember like before you enter the interview. Then if you're using R, then some are like baseplot or deepIR, ggplot2 are also quite important. Then also practice your SQL also. So sometimes they also put the SQL inside those HackerRank kind of questions. So just keep a lookout. They may not just have like 2040 related questions inside those big O time complexity kind of questions. Yeah. So then just want to share like some like different ways they can like conduct the technical interviews. Then some are hosted on HackerRank. So they are those usually they're 2 hours long, and then they'll test you on like mainly 3 different questions. So one is a simple one is of medium difficulty, then one is a hard one. So these are the usual ones that test your time complexity analysis. Then the others include like also used on HackerRank, but then they test you for like they give you a few days window. So some of these are more towards like data science related ones. So data science related questions, they don't expect you to like just solve them in like 2 hours. That's not very accurate, right? So what they'll do is perhaps they give you a data set, then they'll ask you to give a visualization, and then they'll give you like a few days to do it, and then try to find do your own analysis, and then find any like problems with the data or anything you would like to solve with the data. Then other times is like to create data science models using the data set. So those are like a standard, like a Kaggle questions that you can also practice. Then for those like if you happen to go like on site, for interview, there may also be like whiteboard coding. So what they'll do is like they'll ask you one question. The interviewer will ask you one question, then you're supposed to like write down the code in on the whiteboard itself. Yeah. So for that, I guess the difference is that you need to like think on the spot in front of a person, and then you also, as you code, you need to keep the interviewer engaged. Yeah. So you need to explain to them how you break down the problem, how you analyze the problem, and then what are your general next steps, and then before you finally solve it. Then even if you don't know how to solve it, being able to analyze the problem itself already gives you quite a good score. Then for those, they might ask you to write in pseudocode because if not, the process will be very long. Then if not, they'll just ask you to write in Python as well. Then for data science related ones, then some other times they may also ask like a short answer kind of questions. So like for example, during let's say a web interview or online interview, they will just ask you different domains. Let's say machine learning, like how much do you know about it? Or like linear algebra, how much do you know? Or deep learning, do you know what is this overfitting, that kind of things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denzel, Tiare, and Wei Tie, for all the insightful sharing so far. We'll be moving on to the Q&A. Please do keep the questions coming in, and we will try to answer as many as we can. I will be very interested in the answer for the first question, as I am a year one student myself. A few year one students have voiced their concerns in the pigeonhole in relation to the lack of experience. As from Polytechnic, we will only have one internship experience, and from JC, none at all. So at the end of year one, we will only have taken about 40 MCEs. So do most companies accept year one students, or what are your advice for year one students? Denzel?
Yeah, you answer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. For year one students, I think at year one, don't have to be too worried about like trying to do this. Don't have to be too worried about trying to ace like don't have to be worried too much about like previous internship experience, whatever. They will know that you are a year one student, and like it is not expected of a year one student to like have like 5 internships like before you join before you have this internship, right? So when you go for the interview, just make sure that you demonstrate a strong attitude to learn, and you are keen on picking up new things, and I think you'll be fine.
Okay, so like I'm speaking from the perspective of someone that did an internship in year one. So I came from a JC background, like no programming background. I just took some programming mods in my first sem and second sem. But like generally, I would suggest just try all the companies and keep your expectations low, and especially aim for startups. I think startups are usually quite chill when it comes to internships. Just have to show some interest and the like. But there's also those like very competitive startups, like like Ninjavan is not a very easy company to get into for sure. Shopee is not really a startup also. So like like there's different kinds. So if you want to look for startups, right, I would recommend going on to Glints or Angel Lists to look for like the more obscure names and just to get experiences. As a year one, like really just I would just say like get what you can and take what you can and do what you can. And for if you're from computing or like I'm not sure like the other faculties if they have the opportunity, but there's this project called Orbital that the computing students do, and that is very very good for exposure to programming projects. So you can really do anything you like as long as related to programming, and it gets a lot of people on their feet working during summer. In the meantime, like Denzel said, like don't have to worry too much, I guess. Yeah.
And to add on to Jiaree's list of websites to search for startups, so another one is Intern SG. So the one I use both Intern SG as well as Glitz when I was like in year one. to search for internship opportunities. Yeah, so for data science wise, like apart from Orbital, you can also just get a group of friends and then just do a data set on Kaggle, and then just try to maybe something simpler. You can do a data visualization, or you can just make a simple model and then just add some content to your resume. So before you start applying, then yeah, I guess that, and then you also can try to lower expectations, and then just don't just try to, even if let's say you're trying to apply for data science internships, like don't just look at the job title itself and then say, oh, it's called data science internship, so that's what I wanted, or it's because it's called like data analyst, but I want data science, then that's why I don't apply. But then yeah, don't use those kind of don't filter them out so quickly. So just apply for as many internship roles that you think is like a data related or even like technical related. So just apply first. Then maybe during the internship itself, you can talk to your supervisor, and then they may like expand your role to like beyond what is beyond the JD, the job description, and usual responsibilities. So you may end up doing data science stuff as well.
Oh yeah, adding on to that, right? I was just thinking like, okay, so if you're a year one and you're a bit like lost and you want to like for example, you want to get an internship, right? A good way is to have LinkedIn and also to consult your faculty's career advisor. These two are very, very important sources of information. Why I say LinkedIn is because you can see like your seniors where they went. So for example, if like for me, you know that DBS is open for year ones and it's possible. Whereas like there's some roles that are strictly penultimate, like they won't even like negotiate that situation. And so like when you look at what your seniors are doing and what they did at their year ones, maybe you have better sensing of what jobs to apply for. So it sort of like restricts your search and makes it more specific. So you don't waste effort on internship applications that won't work. Secondly, there's the career advisor. So usually, like before I applied, I went to find the career advisor and I set up a session and I was thinking like, oh, what kind of roles should I apply for a business student for like more exposure into different fields? And like recommendation was like into business intelligence because it was a growing field, and because it's with a bank, I sort of can still pivot into finance if I want to. You know what I mean? So, and there's a lot of case studies of people who have been through like the career advisors who have succeeded getting an internship at year one. And if you want to get like the best advice, please look for your career advisor. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I think our next question from our viewers is a bit more specific. So this person asks, so what happens if I'm from a FAS major? So I might not be super data related, such as I would say maybe like linguistics. But if I'm looking to pivot into like the data related field, are there any modules or like any steps that I could take in order to make this like pivot? Yeah, I believe this question is more directed at Denzel. So just for some background information, like Denzel is a econs graduate from NUS. So yeah.
Yeah, if you are FSS major, I think generally speaking, I think econs is somewhat closer to data lah. So I'm not exactly in like the best position to advise like linguistics major. But what I can say is that even if you come from FSS, I don't think it necessarily disadvantages you from other people who come from more technical majors when it comes to data analytics. I mean, ultimately the internship is meant for you to learn. It's meant for you to try new things. So like if you come from an FPSS major, just make sure that even if you don't take the mods, you have some like statistical knowledge, you know some programming, show that you did these things outside out of interest for the topic, and that when you go on an internship, like you we would try our best to learn and like pick up as fast as we can. So yeah, so I think the most important thing is don't be afraid to try, like, learn on your own and just try and just apply to like to different internships. If you really want to weigh in, I think startup environment like Shopware Accounting, Japan, maybe slightly more forgiving, or maybe slightly more, how do I put this, willing to uh, let you take an internship over at these.
Yeah, I'll just add on a bit because like as a biz major, I'm also not like in the most technical degree. So one thing that I would recommend is like take a minor in the field that you want to like actually work in. So for example, if you want to do data, maybe you can minor in data science or business analytics. I'm not sure if there's a minor for that. That one has to check with the NUS side. But like, there's also a lot of engineering and science students who want to go into management roles who actually minor in management, and because they want to do a pivot from a technical field to a less technical field. And likewise, if you want to pivot from a not technical field to a technical field, just take a minor and show like that interest of yours. Furthermore, I believe that if you are really dedicated and let's say you're a bit too late to take a minor, right? Maybe you can plan out like your internships. So for example, if you're year two, you have like maybe three more internships, three more full summer internships, and maybe you can take one LA. Then start looking for internships that get increasingly harder to get or more technical as you go. So maybe when your summer comes, start with the less technical internship or like try the low hanging fruits in terms of like maybe like something like my role, like business intelligence, and then use that business and intelligence as a stepping stone to go into a more technical field like maybe data analytics, which is very, very possible. And like it's really up to you how you want to like sell yourself to employers in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just add on, like if let's say you're intending to go into data science specifically, so some like modules you may want to consider is on linear algebra and calculus, and also computer science is also very important. So I would recommend you to either take like a CS 1010 or its variants, or if I'm not wrong, COS 2000 is a computational thinking. I'm not sure if like they open it for like non-science student as well, so you can check if it's available. Yeah. Then after that, you can also take CS 2030 and CS 2040 if you have like enough time before you start applying. Yeah. So like what Jerry mentioned, you can also take minor. So I think a minor in com science, and also there's also another one provided by the Faculty of Engineering. It's called minor in data engineering. I think it's quite new, so you can also take a look at that one. Yeah, so that is for module wise. Then for project wise, you can also like just start your own project and then keep a lookout on Kaggle and then attend hackathons. Even though you don't have any prior experience, I think it's a good experience. It's a good experience to have. Even though you may be, even though you can just attend some hackathons and then they might assign you to some other team, and then you can see if what you can learn from them. Thank you.
Okay. Unfortunately, as we are running out of time, we will be answering the last 2 to 3 questions. It was mentioned earlier about cooperating with business users during your data internships. Could you guys share more other good to have soft skills or characteristics for a data science internship? Like any other soft skills, be it analytical or like any tips about communicating with
You mean
others?
like data science internship?
Yeah, like the soft skills needed during your like you think it's a good characteristic to have for the internship, soft skills wise.
Maybe I can go first. Yeah. So I think one good soft skill to have is not just communication, but also how you plan your time as well. So sometimes you may be given a lot of different tasks. So it's good to plan out their different priorities, right? So what I'll do first is to list down all the tasks I'm given, then plan out which one of them require another task as a prerequisite first. So I have to do them in a certain order. Then after that, I also rank them in terms of priority. Yeah. So I guess that is one good skill to have to planning out your time well. And then another good skill is also on in project management also. So sometimes like a scientist, they may need to plan out projects also. So in terms of what sort of data to get, what sort of business questions you want to solve. So that also ties in very well with how to getting to know how to plan your time well. So that is also one skill to have. Then with regards to that, then maybe you want to look at GitHub also, learning how to use Git. That is more technical. So learning how to use Git is also, I think, is quite important. And then other technical skills, learning how to use Linux, I think, is also quite important. So some companies use Linux servers also. That's all for me.
Yeah, so I think just adding on to what Wei said about planning the time and priorities, right? Oftentimes when you work as a data analyst and you work across different teams, people are gonna ask you for things, and they may not necessarily ask you in how do I put this? They don't usually come in the queue. People usually just oh, I need this piece of data. Can you help me with this? Very ad hoc requests. So knowing how to manage the different stakeholders that you work with, telling them oh, I need this time to do these things, and I'm currently occupied with this now. Can you wait a while for the data? Or basically knowing how to prioritize your stakeholders' needs and knowing how to manage them, I think is equally important in the job, as much as important, I would say, as technical skills.
I think there's no definite guide to what else constitutes soft skills. I think generally it really depends on the company culture, what kind of fit you are to the company, and how much you can get along with your coworkers. Because at the end of the day, beyond just gaining experiences, you also want to gain networks, and beyond that, you want to enjoy your work. So for example, startups, they have a very strong family culture, and there's a very tight knit community, and you have to be able to assimilate in that community as well. And it really varies according to the startup. And for big companies, the other skill that you need is to be able to be resourceful. So we also mentioned, and I also experienced in EBS, a lot of self-sourcing of information. When a company is big, you have to know what questions to ask and the right people to ask, because sometimes your boss can be a bit busy. He probably is on a lot of calls and a lot of things to do, so he probably won't keep track of your every step in a big company. So be very resourceful and just ask the right questions. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I think for our next question, we do have something more specific to the data science role itself. So I think with respect to that, our viewer asks, which one is more which of these languages are more commonly utilized in the industry itself? I think he's comparing between Python and R. Yeah. So I think this is more of a question for Wei Jie, but I think if the rest of the panelists have some info about this as well, you all can chip in.
Yeah. So far for my past few internships, I've been working more with Python itself. So I can't say like for the whole industry itself, just from my own experience. So my past few internships, I'm working more with Python. So in terms of capability wise, both Python and R can almost do similar things. So, but I guess for R, it's more like more suitable for statisticians. And Python is like a general language because you can also deal with OOP inside Python, which I think is quite powerful. So if you want to build software, if you want to build a backend, you can use Python with Django and Flask also. Yeah, so those are relevant for web applications. Then as for R is, I guess it's mainly, what I use it for is for data cleaning. It's very good for data cleaning. For example, packages like dplyr, tidyr, those are very powerful for data cleaning, and I like their clean syntax. Yes. Then for another reason why I use it is for data visualization. So ggplot2 is also a very powerful tool for data visualization. The plots are very nice, but that doesn't mean that Python doesn't have it. So the equivalent for Python for data viz is Seaborn and Matplotlib. So if you know about those, you can also check those out. Then for cleaning data in Python, you can also use pandas. But I just personally feel that the syntax isn't that clean as R's dplyr. So going back to like which one you should use. So actually for MSD, my current internship, I kind of using both Python and R, and then I also using like C# as well. So in larger companies, they sort of have like they don't really mind like which language they use, as long as you depending on your firm, depending on the team. If let's say your team uses Python more, then you just like adapt to it and use Python as well. So if let's say your supervisor uses R, then just follow him and use R. So I guess in the end, you can learn Python first. Then after that, you realize that R is actually also quite popular. Then you can also pick up R as well. So I think before you graduate, I think it is good to know both.
Okay. Thank you so much, Denzel, Tiare, and Weitie for your time. If you have any other questions, do feel free to reach out to them on LinkedIn.
One of the panelists, Wei Jie, he has also provided us with some internship and SG United traineeships opportunity from his company MSD itself. So we'll be sending it out along with the slides itself, so you can check out and apply for them if you're interested.
We have come to the
I just wanted to add on to this slide. So for the data science intern, they actually be it you have knowledge in data analytics or AI products, you can just apply. So even though the job description, it says you'll be attached to decision sciences team, which deals more with data analytics. You also, as an intern, you get the experience from different teams as well. So right now, I'm also in the decision sciences team, but then I'm also working on projects related to the AI products as well. So, and as for the SG United traineeships, these are more for graduating students. So if you're a graduating student, you can also try to apply for those. And if say you know of like friends who are graduating soon, you can also let them know about this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Weitie. We have come to the end of our event. Thank you everyone for your time. Please follow Stat Society on our various social media and for updates on future database workshops and events. Our society Telegram is open for public blasting of internships. So if anyone wants to share, you can just post. And from our side, we will also be blasting internships whenever we get any postings. Do help us by leaving a feedback for this event by scanning this QR code. And thank you so much once again.
Okay, I think that's it. I think everyone here left is just like that sort one. But
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
yeah, more or less. I think got like 1 or 2 left, but it's yeah. Okay, all of us are like that sort one already. I think yeah. Okay,
Yeah. Good job, guys.
okay, and big thanks to all the speakers.
Yeah, thanks all.
I think
Thanks.
it was very helpful. I was like so focused on like
Yeah.
trying to host that I cannot really listen.
I didn't listen much also. Can I go to you all for advice when I need it?
Hey, yo, Joel. What's up?
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
Hey, thanks everyone for coming. And yeah, so I think it was, especially now it's like recess week and stuff like that. And yeah, I guess not so applicable to you guys, but but yeah, I guess like maybe in the future there might be, I guess like turn-ups is like 50, 60 people. It's like not the greatest, but like it's still okay lah. And hopefully people learn a lot lah. Let's see how the feedback goes. I think people also might already left before you send the URL. Generate a bit too late, but now man. Yeah, thanks guys really so much for helping out. And yeah, bye-bye I guess.
Yeah, and as a token of appreciation, we'll be sending your Grab vouchers, and we'll try to get some certificate of appreciation from the department as soon as we can. Yeah, so yeah, we'll send you the tokens of appreciation.
Yeah, and let Jari know also because he's not here anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
thanks.
Yeah, thanks Denzel.
Thanks a
Thanks
lot.
Wei
No
Jie.
problem.
Thanks, Denzel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hey Wei Jie,
Yeah.
Among Us more.
I haven't eat dinner, yeah.
Aiyo.
Yeah.
Okay lah. 走了。
Okay.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye guys.
Bye bye.